This exquisite china set, originally owned by the guest's grandfather, dates back to the 1890s. Manufactured by Minton's in England, an iconic British ceramic manufacturer with a storied legacy of producing fine bone china, the pieces feature raised gold decoration and custom monograms, indicating their high value.
It's some of the most expensive china that money would buy at the time.
The set includes various patterns, all bought to complement each other, despite not matching exactly. The distinctive turquoise color and exceptional quality make these pieces highly desirable. Individual plates and cups are valued less in comparison to the tureens and the rare menu plaque, while the most desirable pieces are those with a removable liner. In total, this set, with its historical and artistic significance, would be valued at
a retail price would probably be between $1,250 and $2,000.
Sounds good, thank you.
Books are not just pieces of paper. They contain interesting stories behind them. A guest brought in a book to an appraiser explaining it was a gift from his late sister-in-law who bought it 20 years ago from an antique bookseller in Los Angeles. The book, by British author Radcliffe Hall, is the 1928 lesbian novel, The Well of Loneliness. The appraiser highlighted the book's importance in gay and lesbian literature. Although Radcliffe Hall was a well-known author, her British publisher faced obscenity charges because of the book's controversial content, resulting in it being banned in the UK. In the US, the book sparked a bidding war. Although the publisher faced obscenity charges, US courts ruled in its favor. Kovici Fride then released a special Victory edition in 1929. The guest edition is from this special release. It's a deluxe 2-volume set in a matching slipcase signed by the author, and it numbered 43 out of 225. The appraiser noted that the U.S. edition is more valuable and sought after than the UK original. This is due to its rarity and beautiful presentation. While examining the condition of the book, the appraiser said,
"The 1928 UK one sells at auction for between $200 and $400. This one sells at auction for $1,000 to $1,500.
That's wonderful."
Unfolded before us is an elegant gold chain from a bygone era. Our guest inherited this treasure from her great-great-grandmother. The reverse side boasts an engraved plaque bearing the iconic mark of the luxury jeweler Tiffany & Company. This inscription tells us that it was created in 1876. The necklace's exquisite design indicates a strong Japanese influence. It is crafted from a luxurious blend of 18-karat gold and platinum. This extraordinary piece is in pristine condition and is an extremely scarce find, making it a true masterpiece that would command an auction value of...
You would have to pay between $55,000 and $60,000.
Wow.
The guests brought their father's baseball memorabilia to be appraised. Her father, Randy Gumpert, was a baseball player who started young, pitching batting practice for the Philadelphia A's at 16. He got his start with the Philadelphia A's team, led by Connie Mack, from pitch batting practice for the Athletics to pitching in the majors. After the war, he played for the Yankees in 1946, 1947, and 1948. After which he went to play for the Red Sox, the White Sox, and finally for the Washington Senators, which is where his career ended.
So what happened after that?
He worked for the Yankees as a manager. He would go down to spring training as an instructor.
And your dad started in 1936.
The collection included a 1930s A's jersey, a 1947 New York Yankees World Series ring, and 1958 New York Yankees cufflinks. The jersey is from pitching batting practice, because there's no number on the back, making this his very first professional uniform at 16 years old. It's really an incredible collection that holds both historical and sentimental significance. At auction, however, the collection would sell for...
Would be $75,000.
These uniforms, we have the 2 Yankee uniforms at home, we wore them for Halloween costumes. We did.
That's remarkable news.
This family heirloom came from this guest's great-great-grandfather's jewelry store.
He started a family there, but then moved to Chicago, where he opened a jewelry store. He had that for many years, I don't know how long. And this was from his jewelry store.
The guest inherited it from her aunt, who cherished it all her life. The ring is a matched pair diamond ring. The diamonds are old European cut, but are both approximately 2 carats, with one slightly larger than the other.
One stone I estimated weighs 2 carats, and the other weighs just slightly more, 2.05 carats.
This diamond cut was popular in the early 1900s, but the mounting on the ring appears to be from a slightly later period. Although the larger diamond has a chip, after polishing and restoration, this ring should have an estimated value of
$15,000 each, so you're looking at $30,000 for the 2 diamonds.
The guests discovered the treasure box 25 years ago while visiting relatives who owned a Gilded Age mansion in Newport, Rhode Island. After the grandmother passed away, the estate invited relatives to take items they wanted, and in the attic, she found a dusty, unassuming box in the corner. The appraiser identified the item as French, primarily made of silver gilt and mother-of-pearl pieces. Silver gilt is French silver dipped with a gilt surface, and this set was made by Aucoc, a renowned dynasty of silversmiths and jewelers, apparently between 1820 and 1840. The set was intended for ship or train travel, primarily for a lady. The appraiser noted the exceptional completeness of the set, which included dressing and grooming accessories, sewing tools, a small eating surface, and a porcelain teacup and saucer, made in Paris around 1830. One unusual item in the set was an eye rinse, used for rinsing eyes exposed to dust. The set also contained ink spots and a pen rest, all fitting neatly into the case. The case itself had brass inlay, known as boulet inlay, set into a rare cut of maple burl, showcasing the exceptional quality of the timber. The appraiser estimated the auction value of the set to be between,
I would put an auction estimate of between about $10,000 and $15,000.
Well, you've made my day.
Well, you made my day too.
Paintings are always a window into creativity, but this one has a story that sets it apart. At a neighborhood yard sale, someone found a cool painting among other stuff like frames and tennis rackets, all bought for just $30. Even though they didn't know the artist at first, they were drawn to the painting's texture and the label and signature on the back. The artist turned out to be Kojin Toniyama, known for his unique style. He went from teaching in Japan to becoming famous in Mexico. The painting, which is abstract and made with different materials, is of special kind. It's not just about the money, though. The painting has a story and makes people think about art in a new way. An expert suggested it can be sold for $4,000 because of its rarity and the artist's fame.
Maybe in Japan, much more.
Okay.
The guest inherited a beautiful set of Art Deco jewelry, likely from her wealthy great-grandmother in San Francisco. The suite comprised a ring, a bracelet, and a pearl necklace with a pendant, all made of platinum and accented with diamonds and sapphires. The sapphires here are synthetic and were probably made on the east coast of the United States. While the pieces weren't signed by the same maker, their geometric design and use of materials confirmed their Art Deco origin. The bracelet, the guest's favorite piece, featured a central diamond between 0.6 and 0.9 carats, surrounded by smaller diamonds for a total weight of 3 carats. The estimated value is
an auction estimate to be in the $10,000 to $15,000 range.
The ring, also in excellent condition, has a central diamond of about 2 carats and was estimated at
Would be around $12,000 to $18,000.
The necklace showcased a 3-carat old cushion-cut diamond in the center, surrounded by smaller diamonds and cultured pearls. The pearl strand and clasp were later additions, but the overall value is estimated at.
And I think a good auction estimate for that piece is going to be about $25,000 to $35,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, lovely suite you've got there. Nice.
Wow. Holy cow. Really? I'm shocked.
We can embark on a historical voyage with this world map. Guest purchased it at a Goodwill store 15 years ago, and the image of the map was created by William Blue, a Dutch cartographer, atlas maker, and publisher. At the top of the image, we can see a ridge which signifies that this piece is an original. The map is dated 1640, and the maker's marks are both visible at the bottom. A rare find such as this, authentic and in pristine condition, is estimated to be worth
$10,000 in a shop.
Holy cow.
Guest's great-grandfather was in the advertising business and moved from Fitchburg, Massachusetts to New York in the late 1910s, where he purchased this piece. The item came into the guest's mother's possession after his great-grandfather passed away. The appraiser identified it as a letter from George Washington. With his signature at the end, the letter instructed to send a carriage for someone and pick them up in 1798, a year before George Washington's death. Interestingly, the address on the side mentioned that the letter was for James McHenry, who was the Secretary of War at the time and had been a doctor during the Revolutionary War. The appraiser further revealed that when these items were framed, pictures were added to make them graphically more interesting, allowing us to see images of both McHenry and Washington. The bottom piece was by James H. McHenry, the son of James Henry, and he was giving this autographed letter to a man named McKittridge. The letter had a dark and bold handwriting, which tends to fade over time, but bringing together two famous figures added a lot of value to this item, with the expected value to be,
I would say on a retail level, this is probably a $10,000 to $15,000 item.
Wow.
One of the first Canadian depictions of modern art is these beautiful paintings. They were drawn by Canadian artist Nouval Morisseau. These paintings were early depictions of a combination of modern art and traditional Aboriginal imagery. The paintings are crafted with attention to detail, showcasing many fine details.
So you have this wonderful overlay of lines and abstracted shapes combined with loons and thunderbirds and just great imagery.
And it just shows how beautiful the imagery in these paintings is. Norval was one of Canada's most important artists,
And painted in 1968 was one of the best periods for him.
and his works, like these, are considered magnificent. At a suitable auction, each of these beautiful paintings would auction at
Retail, the larger piece could sell for between $15,000 and $25,000, and the smaller pieces, the works on paper, between $3,000 and $5,000 each.
Marvel at the elegance of this exquisite vintage silver vase. The guest's grandmother used the vase as collateral for a loan, and it has been in the family ever since. During the period of Renaissance revival, circa the 1860s, this piece was made. All over the surface of this silverware, we can see different kinds of Renaissance motifs, such as the Renaissance Herm figure and winged figures forming the vase handle. On the back of the item, we have a female Herm figure, while underneath the vase, there is the Tiffany mark dated 1902 to 1907.
That much later. Which is really interesting because they experienced a little bit of Renaissance revival at that time as well.
However, some of the texturing on the piece has worn off due to time and some cleaning by the guest. Regardless of the minor wear, this silverware, made with attention to detail, accrue at auction value of...
At auction, I would think that this is worth in the $30,000 to $50,000 range.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
This Amphora porcelain piece is a stunning example of early 20th century craftsmanship. Passed down through generations, this piece holds a unique history. Crafted by the Amphora Porcelain Company in Bohemia around 1900 to 1905, the artist behind the piece is likely Nikolaus Kahnhauser.
Amphora had different times. They had different partners. Ernst Wallace was one of them.
Marked with RSTK, representing Reisner, Stahlmacher, and Kessel. It signifies a high-quality creation. The decoration on this piece showcases layers of gilding, enamel decoration, and grès bijou,
which I believe in this company is called grès bijou, G-R-E-S, which is stoneware, and bijou, which are jewels.
The intricate design features stylized trees, flowers, and vegetation, culminating in the finely detailed figure of a woman. This Amphora collection, with its exquisite detailing and historical significance, is truly a masterpiece. At auction, this exceptional piece, with its historical significance, would fetch
easily would be $3,000 to $4,000.
Wow. Yeah.
She's a real winner.
Wow. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. When I saw it,
stunning collection of jewelry was purchased by the guest while she was in London in the 1980s at a street market. Included in the collection is a Georgian ring crafted circa 1950, featuring a family crest on carnelian intaglio. Additionally, the shoulders of the ring are engraved with rose-cut diamonds set in the engravings. At auction, this piece would be valued at
retail market. This ring would bring approximately $4,500.
oh
Another item exhibited is a slide made from Stuart crystal, dating back to the 17th century. It possesses faceted rock crystal with three-dimensional figures set on plain gold. The last item displayed is a ring crafted from ivory, featuring a ship's design on its face side dating back to the 18th century. Given the intricate design, this ring would fetch a value of...
That one I see at $7,500
Oh my goodness.
in retail for a collector.
Oh my gosh.
These Costa Rican jadeite pendants were brought to the show by this guest, who had inherited them from his great uncle. These jades are mostly found in the Guanacaste Nicoya region, dating back to 300 to 900 AD. Each jadeite piece was a core part of Costa Rican society, symbolizing power. Presumably, the two bottom pieces are called axe gods, while the one on top, with alligator heads on either side, was mostly used as a pendant. Despite these jadeites being reproduced, they are very authentic, which places a premium on their value. Cumulatively, the appraiser valued them around $3,000 to $5,000.
Thank you. I had no idea.
So I made your day.
Yeah. Happy dance.
Memorabilia is significant because of the memories and connections they bring. And our guest today has brought us memorabilia from a burlesque star named Hinda Wasu. Wasu was a star stripteaser in burlesque. Burlesque is a form of theatrical entertainment characterized by comedy, parody, and female nudity. One of the pieces of memorabilia brought is a costume of Wasu's. Along with it is a 1950 Gruen watch.
Considered a 1950 Gru, and they refer to it as a doctor's watch.
And the last piece is a ring given to Wasu by a colleague.
Of a forgotten entertainer.
Very true.
Burlesque has been around since the 1860s.
These memorabilia, collectively from a standout performer who always left a lasting impression on her audience, would have an auction value of...
So, if you put the entire archive together, I would put an estimated auction value of $3,500 to $4,500.
Okay, thank you, Lee.
In the world of fine art, some paintings tell stories while others become legends, as seen with these pieces. Arthur Wardle, born in 1864, is renowned for his paintings of dogs. His works capture the animals' personalities, giving them a lively and expressive quality. One of the paintings, titled Rough-Haired Fox Terriers, showcases Wardle's skill in portraying the terriers' distinct characters, evident in their eyes and expressions. However, this painting is not considered an original work by Wardle, as the brushwork and details, such as the heavy-handed, differ from his style, but with an estimated value of...
Today, in the current market at auction, this Wardle of the two terriers would be valued at $15,000 to $20,000.
A footed bowl was presented, purchased by our guest at an estate auction. This piece is a hand-painted enamel made out of silver, hence its name, the Silver and Enamel Footed Bowl. This item bears an inscription indicating it was made in Vienna. This beautifully detailed and ornate bowl dates back to the 1880s. Such a remarkable silver-plated, hand-painted bowl would auction at...
Decoration, I'd say for auction, somewhere between $2,000 and $2,500.
Really? That's great.
French jewelry collection originates from Paris and is a testament to the exquisite craftsmanship of early 20th century design. The collection includes a dazzling 1920s diamond and platinum brooch,
classic French Art Nouveau, done around 1900, 1910.
Additionally, there are old mine-cut diamond earrings from the same period, each weighing approximately a carat. Also, the collection features a classic French Art Nouveau necklace, known for its intricate design.
What do you think those are?
Pearls. That's
You think
all I
pearls,
know is
pearls?
pearls or pearls.
Well, they're a little small. I wish they stayed in the oyster a little longer.
Together, these pieces embody the sophistication and elegance of French jewelry that's valued at...
Probably around $4,000. The earrings, I would say probably $2,500. The Art Nouveau necklace, around $1,500.
The guest shared the remarkable story about acquiring a pocket watch. Originally, it belonged to her grandfather, who served on the ship Fredonia. He and his crew rescued 315 passengers from a distressed vessel by sacrificing the cargo. In gratitude, Queen Victoria's government presented the guest's grandfather with a Demi-Hunter pocket watch. This watch featured a unique design with a cutout circle, allowing for easy time checking. The watch had a classic full-size dial with white porcelain enamel and Roman numerals. It also had an inscription on the back acknowledging Davis's humanity.
Presented by Her Majesty's government to Jacob S. Davis, first mate of the Fredonia of Gibraltar.
The pocket watch has a chain resembling a nautical anchor chain, adding to its historical appeal. The value estimated by the appraiser was...
I think a fair auction estimate would be $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh my goodness.
There are many odd collections that antique lovers have, but these action Cupid dolls seem to top the list.
I gave it to her daughter, and she ultimately gave it to me.
For most people who don't like horror, these dolls would be a nightmare of a collection. But to those who can easily identify an antique of value, these items would be the cream of the crop. These dolls were created likely around 1913 till 1920.
Up into the 1920s, so it was probably bought in New York as a little gift for her room.
And despite being old, they have still maintained their originality. The doll holding the baby is called an action Cupid because it is doing something, which in this case is holding babies. At the time of their creation, these dolls were the pinnacle of innovation, and it's for this reason that they auction at the whopping price of
Probably retail between $4,000 and $5,000.
Really?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's
Whoa.
a very rare action Cupid.
The guest brought some beautiful plates for appraisal, which she collected from different sources. The appraiser noted the distinct markings on the brown transferware plates, identifying the manufacturer as Alfred Meakin from Staffordshire, England.
But there's some information here, and it says dishwasher and detergent safe. So these are actually fairly recent. These are probably from about the 1970s.
Moving on to a hand-painted plate, the appraiser explained its significance within the English aesthetic movement, influenced by Japanese design. Despite its unmarked appearance, closer inspection revealed subtle details, shedding light on its age and origin. The appraiser continued with a pair of finely crafted plates. He mentions marks and symbols on their back.
And this particular mark was used between 1849 and 1870.
These plates had beautiful scenes from real places on them. The appraiser estimated the worth of each plate.
Now, the English plate, the Minton plate, is probably worth between $400 and $600 in a retail type situation. And then the KPM plates are the best ones. They're worth between $2,000 and $3,000 for the pair in a retail situation.
The guests seemed to agree with the price.
The guest brought in a beautiful glass chandelier to the show. The item was identified as a French Cameo glass chandelier made by Émile Gallet. He was a prominent figure in the Art Nouveau movement, known for his intricate glasswork. Gallet mastered the art of cameo glass, a technique that involves layering and carving different colored glass to create detailed designs. The artist's work often featured natural motifs like flowers, insects, and landscapes. This particular piece depicted butterflies carved on the inside, symbolizing nature and transformation. The amazing piece's auction value was estimated to be
$8,000 to $10,000. Yes.
The guest on the show brought a Chinese porcelain fan plaque, which she had purchased several years ago on her trip to China. The fan plaque was originally made in China around the Qianlong period in the 1920s, depicting a monk and his attendants who are often referred to as immortal figures within Chinese mythology. Also on the plaque is a bat, associated with good fortune. Although this is an unsigned plaque, it still has all the elements of distinctiveness because it was molded, making it a very rare piece to come across in the auction marketplace. The appraiser valued this fan plaque around $4,000.
Oh, very nice. Thank you.
This unique Navajo weaving, inherited from Great Aunt Lil, has long intrigued the guest, who is curious about the meaning behind its intricate symbols. Although the exact symbolism remains a mystery to both the guest and the appraiser, it is confirmed to be a Navajo weaving, highly sought after by collectors, especially pictorial weavings. The weaving's unusual design has puzzled experts, with its figure depicting something unfamiliar and rare in Navajo artistry. Despite the ambiguity surrounding its symbolism, the weaving's rarity and uniqueness make it a desirable piece for Navajo weaving enthusiasts, with a pre-auction estimate ranging from $4,500 to $6,500. What we have here is an American folk art rag doll that was brought to the show by this guest, who had inherited it from her stepdad. These are incredibly rare dolls that feature bulging eyes, large pointy fingers, and hands with an original baby shoe and oilcloth. The doll was produced in the 1980s, which can be seen from its fading appearance. The rag doll is still a coveted piece among doll and folk art collectors, and this doll in particular, in its original condition, is valued at $2,000 to $3,000 by the appraiser.
So he's a really nice
Interesting,
find,
yeah.
and I'm glad you're going to keep him in
Guess
the
I
family.
better get him insured.
Guest attended an arts and craft show in Tuscaloosa and purchased a Howard Finster artwork. Visionary preacher Howard Finster transformed everyday trash into a vibrant paradise garden bursting with Bible verses.
He was a minister, but to pay the bills and take care of his family, he was also a fix-it man. He was a house painter. He was a carpenter, a bricklayer. He fixed bicycles and lawnmowers.
Finster started having visions as a young man and began preaching in his teens. The Garden Museum is now called Paradise Garden. Finster believed God instructed him to paint 5,000 pictures to spread the gospel, and he numbered his paintings. This artwork is dated 1996 and has a lengthy verse on the front.
It's a combination of media. He worked in oil, but he also used regular house paint, so he tended to use whatever he had available.
He loved an audience and often preached while he painted. The verse continues on the back, offering another layer of Finster's artistic and spiritual message. REM, filmed in his garden, brought Finster fame. This one-of-a-kind Finster creation could fetch.
And in the current market, you're probably looking more like $1,000 to $1,500 were you to sell it at auction. So
that's very good. I'll enjoy it.
If you were to insure it, I would probably just about double that figure.
For insurance purposes, it is valued at around $3,000. A guest brought a Woodland burlwood bull that belonged to her grandparent. The Woodland burlwood bull is a handcrafted wooden bull made from burlwood, which is known for its unique and intricate grain patterns. This bull is often prized for its natural beauty and can be used for decorative purposes. It is typically made by skilled artisans who carefully select and shape the burlwood to highlight its natural features.
Its job today is to sit on my dining room table with silk flowers in it.
Okay. Well, I'm really glad you brought this bowl in. My brother and I, my twin brother and I, collected burl.
The size, shape, and finish making the bull a unique piece of art. This bull is often sought after for their aesthetic appeal and can add a touch of rustic elegance to any home decor. The appraiser values it.
Auction estimate on this bowl at $8,000 to $12,000.
That's wonderful.
This bronze sculpture isn't merely an object, it's a testament to creativity. The sculpture belonged to the guest's great-grandfather. We can discern from the mark on the item that it was made by J. Clinton Shepard. Shepard was an American sculptor and muralist. Additionally, the item is dated 1923, as indicated at the base. Crafted in the form of a cowboy with a hat riding a horse and with a cow also visible. Despite being made a long time ago, it is still in pristine condition. Given its condition, we can anticipate this bronzeware fetching a price of...
I would put an auction estimate of $10,000 to $15,000.
Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive.
Today's item looks like a mini barrel, but it's a crock. Not crock as in crocodile, but as in a pot made from earthenware. This crock, however, is of American origin and was made in 1868 in Ohio. The crock is known as a salt-glazed crock stoneware. There are beautiful decorations done on the surface of the crock to beautify it.
A lot of times, cobalt blue decorated pieces were done with a stencil, but this was done with what they call a slip cup.
The crock is luxurious because it was made from cobalt, which at the time was expensive. The piece is a solid piece, and to a lot of collectors would be worth a bunch in today's market. At a suitable auction, this finely made stoneware would retail at,
on this piece, of $8,000 to $10,000.
Guest brought a miniature roll-top desk, also known as a salesman's sample. It originated from Chautauqua Lake, Jamestown, New York, where the guest's great-great-great-grandfather was in the woodworking business. The desk was a rare example of a salesman's sample, used to showcase furniture designs to potential customers.
This definitely dates from that 1890 period.
It was an iconic piece of American furniture from the late 19th century. It had a mechanical tambour roll that disappeared into the desk. This particular desk dated back to the 1890s and featured an opening file system that slides back into the desk. The desk had a few condition issues, but was still in good working order. This tiny titan of a desk packs a big punch with an estimated value at,
but I would put an auction estimate, which I think would be conservative, of $4,000 to $6,000.
My goodness.
Filled with curiosity, presents an intriguing garment, a waistcoat. The appraiser identified it as an 18th century waistcoat, crafted sometime between 1760 and 1780. This amazing waistcoat's style places it firmly within the mid to late 18th century.
I was born in where my parents lived for a few years before they moved to upstate New York.
It had become popular attire in America as early as the 1740s.
This men's fashions do not change as fast as women's do.
A beautiful embroidery that would have adorned both the waistcoat and its accompanying coat, a testament to the lavish aesthetics of the period.
Turn this just a little bit this way, we can see that this is indeed a pocket that is made into the skirt of the waistcoat.
He would have completed the ensemble with knee-length breeches, a stark contrast to the full-length pants of today. A pocket incorporated into the skirting is a practical accoutrement for the gentleman to carry small personal items. In today's market, such a waistcoat could fetch between,
and if you went to a high-end retail market, you would expect to pay somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 for this waistcoat.
Show features a delicate glass dome brought in by our guest, who inherited it from her grandparents. Within the glass dome rests an anchor. On the surface of the anchor are delicately crushed fish scales, intricately carved so we can see through them. Additionally, leaves and veins are intricately carved onto the surface of the anchor.
Very fun example of this Victorian trend of creating these elaborate curiosities.
Synthetic pearls also adorn the piece. Such a stunning item in such pristine condition would undoubtedly fetch a significant auction value of around,
I would expect this to have an estimate of around $1,500 to $2,000.
Wow.
And my advice to you would be to insure it for $3,000.
Okay.
Rarely would you ever see a combination of exquisite jewelry like this. One of the rings here is made from platinum, which is an expensive material, while the other two rings are made from diamond, a rare gem, and ruby, one of the most prized gems in the world. These rings were created in 1935 at a time when possessing rings like these was the dream of the rich. The style of architecture displayed on the rings is top-notch.
So you've got this kind of graduated design in the ring.
At an auction, each of these rings would retail at the price of
$4,000 to $5,000 a piece.
Wow.
This guest shares the interesting story of his family heirloom, which he exhibited on the show.
Great-great-grandfather was a Western painter, Harvey Young, and this was a friend of his.
The item is a vase made by Van Briggle. Van Briggle, who had a significant impact on the Art Nouveau movement in the United States, and his pottery is foundational to American art pottery.
He was a famous artist, worked in Cincinnati, he had tuberculosis, went to Colorado Springs because the salubrious climate was thought to be best for people suffering from that disease.
Upon inspecting the bottom of the piece, we can see an AA mark, the date 1904, and a Roman numeral 3. The particular design of this vase is called Climbing for Honey, which is depicted on the piece by the bear figure at its rim. Furthermore, the piece has two different glazes, the background glaze and a matte green glaze. There's a little bit of damage on this vase, particularly on one of the bear's ears. The damage incurred doesn't have any impact on the value of the item. At an auction, this vase would fetch
maybe as much as $30,000 to $40,000. It's a major piece of Van Briggle.
Wow, that is amazing.
This remarkable salesman's prospectus from 1882 showcases the subscription process for Colonel Richard Irving Dodge's book, published by the guest's great-grandfather, who was a publisher of books. The prospectus features colorful illustrations and an introduction, offering a glimpse into the content of the book and enticing potential subscribers. Notable subscribers include President Chester A. Arthur, Robert Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, and even Buffalo Bill.
One of the more interesting ones here that I find is one of the very last ones was Buffalo Bill, William Cody. So again, you have these great famous figures of the day and their signatures.
Among others, highlighting the book's significance and appeal to prominent figures of the time. The book provides a first-hand account of Indian life on the Great Plains, offering insights into both the peaceful and turbulent aspects of Native American culture. The prospectus is estimated to be worth between $8,000 and $12,000 at auction.
Oh boy, that's really something.
Inherited from their late aunt, the item had hung in her rec room for years, believed to be from New Zealand. The Maori Koteti is a New Zealand war club with a flat, oval-shaped blade, used in close combat by indigenous Maori people. It's called a kotiate, which translates to split liver. It's a close combat weapon with a flat, oval-shaped blade, usually crafted from wood or whalebone. The lobes are crafted from whalebone with abalone shell intricately inset. A mythological creature is depicted below, adding a touch of mystique to the piece. In the weapon's center was a thong, preventing it from slipping in battle. In battle, the kotiate delivered devastating blows with swift precision. The kotiate symbolizes Maori tradition and legacy. Its historical significance and craftsmanship are precisely what the appraiser values the item for.
At auction, this item could be expected to fetch between $12,000 and $15,000.
Wow, that is a famous idea, but it was worth what it was, and thank you for,
you're quite welcome.
Penobscot Club, acquired from an antique barn near Fort Ticonderoga, is a remarkable find. The guest bought it in 1963 while vacationing in upstate New York. Originally thought to be a shaman's club, it is actually a fine example of a Penobscot club from Maine, dating to around the 1920s.
These were made for sale in the late 19th century into the 1940s. I suspect this one is probably from around the 1920s.
Crafted from the burl of a tree, it features intricate carvings of a moose, a fish, and a North American Indian portrait, topped with a polychrome wolf. Unlike many similar clubs, this one boasts exceptional carving and painting. At a gallery, this piece, with its exceptional carving and painting, would be valued at...
We would ask somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000.
Amazing.
First glance, this item appears to be both a walking stick and a gun. Today, we're presented with a pistol cane, which our guest acquired through a trade for an old bottle. Crafted by Jacob Koons, one of the premier gunsmiths in Philadelphia.
His name is right under the hammer, J. Koons. And it's the later spelling of his name. He originally spelled it K-U-N-T.
Known for his exquisite workmanship with air guns.
Meriwether Lewis took one of Jacob Kuntz's air guns on the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Is that right?
This item is truly one of a kind. It was crafted in 1830. Due to its exceptional craftsmanship and rarity, at auction, this wonderful item is estimated to be worth...
Really is worth $10,000 to $15,000.
$10,000 to $15,000.
$10,000 to $15,000.
I'm sure my friend will be contacting me.
Yes.
Long before modern online advertisements were made and movies were shown online, theaters used what we call a lobby card. Lobby cards were positioned strategically in the lobby of a theater in order to raise awareness.
14 printed on cardstock paper, and they were meant to put in the lobbies.
This particular lobby card is called a title card, and it holds the portrait of the stars of a 1940 movie called Black Friday.
And because of that, they're really collectible. There's a major market for them.
For items that have existed for over 50 years, these cards are in top condition. As these cards are a representation of early advertisement, and because they are also in top condition, they would auction today at
$3,000 to $5,000.
A Turkmen communist figure rug, woven with threads of history and tradition, is showcased on the show today. The rug was purchased by the guest's grandmother in the 1930s while she was in Paris. Referred to as the Bukhara, this rug originated from Central Asia.
Kind of in countries like Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, even what's today Eastern Iran.
One of the most interesting aspects of this rug is the depiction of faces in the weavings, such as the two portraits in the center of the rug and two stylized faces on the edge.
This is a woman who was working outside of what she was supposed to be doing. These images she probably saw from prints, from propaganda posters, and incorporating them into her.
One of these portraits resembles the communist leader Vladimir Lenin. Lenin was a Russian revolutionary, politician, and political theorist. Additionally, the rug has been very well preserved, further adding to its value. This rug intertwines tradition and politics, and at auction is estimated to be worth,
I would place an estimate of $1,500 to $2,500 on it, just out of a curiosity.
Everyone is fascinated with the know-how that goes into well-crafted items, and that's the case with this vase. Well-crafted, this piece is from Weller Pottery. Weller Pottery is located in the Zanesville, Ohio area, and the vase features a beautiful portrait of a Native American. The date of creation of this fine vase can be set to circa 1910, and it would be a marvelous addition for any lover of well-made vases. A piece with this level of craftsmanship and quality would be worth how much in today's market? To simply call this brooch a piece of memorial jewelry might seem like an underappreciation, but that's exactly what this brooch is. It's a piece of memorial jewelry. The jewelry was passed down to this guest through the generations. The brooch is black onyx with a little pearl in the center. There's a story about the pearl in the center. The pearl connotes tears for when women were widowed. What is quite beautiful about this brooch is that it's American-made and dates to circa 1850.
What's particularly nice about this are the cuts of these stones. If you see that, they're really beautifully done.
This brooch, at auction with the story accompanying it and its significance, would be worth,
well, it's worth about $400.
Oh, that's delightful.
Isn't that wonderful?
That is wonderful.
And
Thank you, Joyce.
Today's item looks like a violin, but it is more complicated due to the sound it produces. The item is called a cello, and it's a violin that plays the bass or tenor. The cello was manufactured by a prestigious German family, and the craftsmanship is evident on its surface.
These wonderful sound holes, very characteristic of that family, and the scroll was very German of the period, very mittenvoll.
The bow, on the other hand, is finely made and was crafted by a prestigious British family. The bow is gold-mounted and perfectly complements the cello to produce great music. At an auction, the combo of this cello and bow would retail at,
and the cello, I'd say today with the scarcity of good professional-grade cellos, about $18,000 to $22,000.
It was a good investment.
This ball is over 50 years old, and the story behind it is magnificent. It's a rare baseball signed by legends Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. It's quite unconventional to see a baseball signed by two giants in the baseball industry.
They actually signed the balls before they hit it into the stands.
They signed both boxes of balls and then went out to second base and hit them into the stands.
And that's why this baseball is priceless to both antique collectors and its owner. The baseball was signed in 1927 at Yankee Stadium, and this was a time when both Babe and Lou were at their individual peaks. The ball was also used in the game where it was signed, which increases its value. As a piece of sports memorabilia, this ball would auction at the retail price of,
I wouldn't insure it for less than $20,000.
Whoa, my goodness.
Walking cane as an heirloom. To most people, this wouldn't make sense, but the magnificence of this cane can't be ignored. It was crafted in the late 19th century around what is likely believed to be the Civil War era.
The gentleman who carved this, his name is Napoleon B. Taylor, and he enlisted in the 22nd Michigan Volunteer Infantry in March of 1865.
There are engravings on the surface that serve as a form of identification. This cane serves as a piece of original American folk art. The cane is made from one of the strongest woods called diamond willow, and this wood also enhances the stick's beauty. In an auction, this stick would retail at the auction price of,
put an insurance value on it of $6,000.
Wow.
This item serves as a perfect example of what somebody does with their imagination. This piece was made out of found objects, obtained by our guest in Chicago in 1990.
So I like things like this, and this is a really elaborate one. So
this is a folk art spool table, featuring a rugged patina from its time in the barn. The producer of this item is unknown, but
you call them turrets.
Right.
And this is a perfect example of what somebody does with their imagination.
But it is clearly an execution of creative imagination.
Very bright.
Right.
So I'll bet you the first time it went in somebody's house, it would be like, whoa, you walk by it and it would just bowl you over.
Despite the mystery surrounding its maker, this visually delightful piece would auction at a price of,
We're thinking for an insurance value in today's market, we would do somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500.
Well, that's great news.
The collection consists of 3 Christmas cards from the early 1940s featuring the famous racehorse Seabiscuit. Seabiscuit remains a popular and sought-after collectible, known for its remarkable racing career and underdog story, likely from a time when Seabiscuit was at the peak of his fame. Collectibles related to Seabiscuit have been highly valued by enthusiasts, making these Christmas cards desirable items for collectors. At auction, these Christmas cards could fetch between $1,000 to $5,000. This print is a work of Hiroshi Yoshida, a renowned Japanese artist. Hiroshi Yoshida was famous for his depiction of the Wisteria Bridge. Created in the 1920s, this piece features Yoshida's signature in Japanese brush style, indicating its origin for the Japanese market. Despite lacking an English signature, its value in its current condition was estimated at
Print in this condition is about $1,400.
Wow.
Featuring on today's show is an owl vase, purchased at a flea market frequented by our guest. This porcelain vase, called the Moromura Brothers Owl Vase, was crafted in 1905. It bears the inscription Nippon underneath, indicating it's a Japanese piece. This beautifully crafted vase at auction would be worth,
an antique shop today, it would be perhaps $1,500.
This Bru Jne doll is a French doll made by the Bru Company, dating back to around 1880. This piece belonged to the guest's grandmother. Interestingly, these dolls are highly coveted by collectors and are considered the epitome of doll collecting. This particular doll has a bisque head and arms, with the shoes likely bearing the Bru Jne mark. However, despite the condition issue, this Bru Jne doll, a symbol of elegance, history, and craftsmanship, is priced at
should be worth between $12,000 and $15,000.
Wow.
And this is the power of expertise and perfect attention to detail.
Really know too much about it, because when you live in a house with something, you don't pay attention to it.
Used as a lawn or building decoration, this carved wooden American eagle represents the American dream, which is freedom and the right to succeed. Although it looks like it was created recently,
we should call attention to is the overall quality of the carving, and certainly it's, I would think, 100, 150 years old. This is carved out of a soft wood.
It is actually over 100 years old and was created around 1850. As a perfect depiction of the American dream, plus its attention to detail during its creation, this American carved eagle auctions for
auction purposes, I would estimate its value certainly between $6,000 and $8,000. It's a splendid bird.
The guest brought Crown of Laurel to the Roadshow for appraisal, which also had an inscription on it. It was made from 150 pieces, locked and interlocked, crafted from a walnut bedstead. This crown was presented from one captain to another in the infamous Libby Prison during the Civil War. Libby Prison served as a temporary confinement for Union prisoners of war during the American Civil War between 1861 and 1865. Some of the prisoners were indeed artists. The appraiser suggested the price of this crown between $8,000 to $10,000. The guest appeared to express approval of it. What we have here are 2 Meeson cherubs, some of the earliest furniture pieces, indicating figures pressing 2 hearts together. These pieces were made by Meeson, the oldest porcelain factory in Europe, known for innovative and timeless pieces. Under each cherub is an underglazed blue crossed swords mark, which could be classified as the Meeson Company's mark. Despite the condition issues on one of the cherubs, it still commands a considerable value of about $600 to $800 in the auction market, while the other cherub, with no condition issues, was appraised for about $1,500 to $2,000. The guest inherited the print from her husband. It was created by Munakata Shikō, who was a famous Japanese artist. The guest's husband was a professor of Asian studies at NYU, hosted Munakata Shikō at their home for an open house. Munakata Shikō created the print as a demonstration for the party guests.
And he felt very grateful that my husband invited him, so he did this as a demonstration.
The print was signed and dated July 27, 1959, by Munakata Shikō.
And then visited my husband's home because he had an open home. My husband was the professor at the University of New York.
The presence of minor foxing or staining on the print makes it unique. The appraiser discusses Munakata Shikō's artistic style.
Because, as you know, he worked in a very rough and aggressive manner and often used the ends of boxes.
The estimated value of the print would be,
I would say in a retail market that a piece like this would be in the range of $6,000 to $7,000.
Wow, it's hard to believe.
This 1930s banjo, a cherished family heirloom, holds a rich history of musical talent passed down through generations. Originally purchased by the guest's grandfather, who taught himself to play, the banjo was later passed on to the guest's father and then inherited by the guest.
And this is the regular banjo, the RB11, the 5-string.
Okay.
Very rare in this period. This is probably about 1936, 37, something like that.
During this period, Gibson produced very few 5-string banjos, as the tenor banjo had become more popular by the mid-1920s. The banjo features an original perloid fingerboard, often humorously referred to as mother of toilet seat, with intricate designs intact, along with a perloid resonator and original blue paint. Remarkably, the banjo retains all its original components. Given the resurgence in popularity of bluegrass and the 5-string banjo, the appraiser values this instrument at a conservative estimate of at least $5,000.
My goodness.
Perhaps.
Believe it or not, these seemingly ordinary stick pins were found at yard sales for just $1 or $2.
So you brought a bunch in.
I did.
And you know what's going to happen. I'm going to pick one out. I love to tell you I'm going to pick out 3, but I'm going to pick one out and I'm going to tell you about it, okay?
The stunning pink stone is not coral, but a rare conch pearl. Green stones surrounding the pearl hold another surprise. They're not emeralds, but valuable dematoid garnets.
But it's in this beautiful fan design from the early 1900s.
This piece is a truly rare find and is adorned with genuine old mine diamonds. Appraiser estimates this could go for a staggering
$1,500 to $2,000, and that's at auction. I would think you probably have to insure it for around $3,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was well worth the wait.
These striking obelisks, inherited from a friend who believed they were from the Edwardian era. It holds a much older history dating back to around 1790. Made of English pearlware, these obelisks feature a cream-colored glaze with a slight blue cast, decorated to resemble the rare and expensive stone poppifer, popular in the late 18th century. Likely made by Wood and Caldwell, successors of Enoch Wood or possibly Ralph Wood. These obelisks were manufactured in Staffordshire, England,
which made various types of English pottery, pearlware, and so forth in the late 18th century.
While the obelisks exhibit minor imperfections, highly sought after by collectors of 18th century English pottery, these obelisks are not only valued for their historical significance, but also for their decorative charm. Often used to adorn mantels and interiors, and despite their minor damages, the retail or insurance value for this pair falls between $3,000 and $5,000.
So they're really, really spectacular.
Wow.
Yeah.
Found at an estate auction for just $800 each. Could these French porcelain vases be worth a fortune? Dating back to 1880, these vases are steeped in the history of the aesthetic period. The aesthetic period was influenced by Middle Eastern and Far Eastern designs. Hand-painted porcelain vases boast vibrantly colored, leaf-shaped panels in an intricate enamel-work design. The beautifully crafted gilt bronze mounts, incorporating an onyx base, showcase charming scenes of boats on meadows adorning the vases. The appraiser values these French vases at a potential windfall of
These were to come up for auction on the East Coast. I could quite easily sing them with an estimate of between $8,000 and $12,000.
Oh, that
so
sounds
you,
good.
you did really well.
Okay.
Time takes a toll on these pieces, with their value dropping to a range of $3,000 to $5,000.
Inherited by this guest from his parents, acquired during their time in Japan. This item is particularly intriguing because it was entirely and carefully hand-painted. Depicted on the surface of the vase is a European scenery, featuring a thatched hut cottage and a lake with a sailboat. Additionally, this item originated from Japan, with the artist's signature on the front. Meanwhile, at the bottom, there's the mark of a maker, the Noritake Company.
But it's made things all throughout the 20th century, and it's still a huge company today. It is an unusual mark. It includes the word Nippon in it.
Fascinatingly, the guest also brought the original wooden box of the vase.
Unusual form for Nortaki. Traditionally, when people think of Nortaki, especially in this time period, they think of rather inexpensive things.
It is uncommon to find a vase like this with its box still intact, and the interesting provenance of the item places its value at auction to be around.
With the box, this would probably sell for between $5,000 and $7,000.
Oh, that's great.
The guest brought a table she acquired from a former roommate. It was small and compact, and the guest used it as a side table. The appraiser revealed that the table was designed by Jens Rhizome, a renowned 96-year-old American designer in the late 1950s. Rhizome is one of the originators of the mid-century American aesthetic, known for its simple and honest design. The table was in fantastic condition, good, honest, and clean. The appraiser estimated the true value of this table at...
And I think it would surprise me if this piece sold for less than $1,500.
Oh my God.
A bedstead was acquired by the guest through a mortgage arrangement with a friend. The appraiser identified the item as a Renaissance Revival oak bedstead. It likely originated from France and was imported to Canada around the 1880s. The beautiful piece reflected the Victorian-era Renaissance Revival trend, which incorporated motifs from the 15th and 16th centuries. The bed's intricate carvings depicted symbolic elements related to sleep and dreaming. The headboard featured a wise owl, symbolizing nighttime wisdom, overseeing the sleeper. Moreover, the appraiser pointed out a medallion depicting the sons of the god of sleep, Morpheus, Icelus, and Phantasus.
On the right-hand side here is Phantasus, and here he is with his elbow perched on a skull, and he's actually thinking about the next nightmare that he's going to dream up. You have another god who's sculpting out the dream.
The captivating details of the piece confirmed its importance and suggested its monetary worth as...
And this bed is worth about $8,000 to about $10,000 or $11,000 is an auction estimate.
Interesting.
These panels, originating from Wheeling, West Virginia, were salvaged from the front door of the guest's father's childhood home. Adorned with intricate designs of urns, leaves, flowers, and what the guest initially mistook for steamboats, these panels carry a significant historical connection to the Ohio River. The panels feature the logo of J&C Ritchie, also known as Wheeling Flint Glassworks. Despite the initial confusion, these panels are among the rarest examples of American lacy glass, crafted to mimic cut glass but made using a pressed glass technique. One panel from a similar set was auctioned in 2018, fetching an impressive...
came up for auction, and it sold for $3,200.
I am surprised. I'm very surprised.
This banjo originally belonged to the guest's grandfather and has remained in the family since then. The guest discovered the banjo in the attic at age 15 and made a deal with his parents: repair it in exchange for music lessons. However, military service interrupted his learning. Later, when he tried to sell it, a store owner offered any guitar an amplifier in exchange, indicating its value. The guest expressed attachment to the instrument, preferring to keep it for sentimental reasons. The appraiser acknowledged the banjo's significance as a family heirloom and praised the guest for retaining it. The appraiser discussed the banjo's rarity and historical value, noting its production in 1935, a coveted era for Gibson instruments. Despite the challenges of playing the banjo, the appraiser highlighted its quality, originality, and condition. Emphasizing its desirability among collectors, the appraiser estimated its insurance value at...
For insurance purposes, I would probably put about $6,000 or $7,000 on it.
Okay.
Market value, you find them out there in the $4,000 to $5,000 range.
Okay.
But this is in fabulous condition.
Purchased at an auction in Louisville, this collection of prints represents the entirety of the guest's and her husband's art collection. Our guest left the bidding to her husband, resulting in the acquisition of prints ranging from $500 to $1,000 each. While most prints were reproductions, including works by Rembrandt, Degas, and Renoir, one stood out as an original etching by Renoir titled Chapeau Épinglé, or The Pinning of the Hat.
Pinning of the hat. And this is the first etched version of the Chapeau Épinglé that Renoir did. He made this print in the 1890s. And it's something that is not as common as the later versions.
The original Renoir etching holds significant value, estimated at
auction, $4,000 to $6,000, towards the high side for that. So $4,000 to $6,000, adding all that up with that one print.
Contrasting sharply with the decorative reproductions, which hold minimal value. The appraiser praised the guest's boldness in purchasing at auction and emphasized the importance of knowing the value and authenticity of artworks, suggesting using a magnifying glass to identify reproductions.
To tell a reproduction this way is to hold a magnifying glass to it. Okay. And if you see a uniform pattern of dots, that is indicative of a reproduction.